Hi, I'm Leathur Rokk, and I'm live from my home studio where I'm not reversed and I know how to operate my equipment. How are you guys doing? This confounded thing, I'm telling you. The reason why one of the playlists this video is going to be in, once this is no longer live and this is a video, I have a playlist called My Computer Woes, which I will consider all tech stuff go in there. I still don't understand why I cannot do anything except live stream with this. I don't understand why I can't take pictures with this. I don't understand why, no matter where it is in the settings I look, I can't figure out how to stop filming myself in reverse whenever I go live with this. So, I found another cell phone that has double the storage capacity of this and is only about $8 more expensive. And I ordered it late last night because I'm thinking, if that buys me 2 more weeks of filming at will, it's still cheaper in the long run than what I paid for that first cell phone that for the time that I got with it. And it only held 512 gigabytes. Okay, that's half a terabyte. And I was under the impression that that was an expandable device. And I even got a 1 terabyte chip to make it even hold more. Now, I found out that this phone here is, in fact, expandable. Um, and so is the one that I just ordered. But I'm thinking if the next phone I get does the same thing as this one does, and after a while tells me it's full when I know it's not, again, it still would be cheaper because I would still be getting, if I think dollars per storage area. Hi, Amir. Um, oh, I have something to show you, Amir. Wait right there. Hey, look what I found. Amir. Da 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 da. And a bag of these N95s. Sure. Just for you. That's why I brought them in. Now, first thing I want to do, I want to wipe my nose so I don't rub it on mask. Now, I'm wearing a lip gloss, so I have to be kind of careful about that. You've got to pinch this to make sure you get the tight seal. I've heard that it's a good tight seal if you try to blow out a candle and you can't. Okay, this is KN95. Now this here is the Aura mask, 3M NIOSH are. And matter of fact, some of the inner sealing has come off because as you can see, that is a couple of years old. Oh man, I don't want to mess up my hair. Oh yeah? These kind of look disturbing. Like that Twilight Zone episode where everybody had the pig faces except this lady who looked like Marilyn Monroe. And they were trying to get her to correct her birth defect. There. Now, catches in my curls. So now that I got that over and done with, I'm not going to do that anymore. Oh, somebody asked how I styled my hair. I want to mention that. These, you guys, this is my secret. I get my hair a little bit wet, but not all the way. And I kind of cut it in half. Well, I don't cut it. I put it in half. Stretch it up. Top of my head, claw it up. Same thing with this. Just grab the curly, encourage it to be all curly and stuff. Scrunch it up. Clip it in the top kind of so I have two big bear ears kind of. I just leave it alone. Now, just to make sure it doesn't end up getting a misty, mildewy, yucky smell, I spray something in it. Let me show you what I've been spraying. Oh. Okay, because you want to use an alcohol to kill any germs. So this is from Avon. This is actually left over from when I used to be an Avon lady, and that was over 10 years ago. That was, my dad was still alive, so it was definitely. Anyway, this is the honey lemon. It's one of those fragrances that you spray it on, and in a few minutes, it's mostly evaporated. So it's not annoying, long-lasting, whatever. Hey, Burger Boy. Fun bags. Isn't that a synonym for breasts? And if that's in fact what that means, I think I'm the wrong person to ask. Cheers. It is a shame because they are pierced. And I got the captive bead rings, And by the way, this kind of piercing, anybody gets these corkscrew piercings, they get caught on things. They get caught in your hair. They get caught on jewelry. They get caught in fishnets. They get caught in things with shoelaces. When I slip skirts over my head to put them on, anything with a skinny, like a shoelace thing, and then you get caught in there, then you have to undo it. Wear it for 3 minutes? No, because it's going to catch. The strings are going to catch in my curls. It's going to rip my hair out. Possibly risk getting caught in my nose ring. If I was to wear it for that length of time, then the people that are just flipping around on YouTube will see this and they will think it's a very disturbed situation going on. And, I don't want to freak people out to the point that they run away in droves. It's bad enough there's people that freak out at things like the ring. Now, there's somebody that I wanted to interview on the boardwalk today, but I couldn't do it with the cell phone because it's not letting me do anything but live stream, and that it reverses my image. Now, you see this isn't reversed here. Any of you other content creators out there who use cell phones to create, do you know a workaround to stop having my image be reversed? It seems to me that something should be offered on the screen, and there's nothing on the drop-down menu. Hey, Aaron Shred, how you doing? I could tie my hair. Yes, I don't want to do that because if I pull it tight, it's going to stretch out the curl and straighten it more, and I don't want to do that, because when I'm not having my hair hang down to look good on camera and go out in public and stuff, I clip it back up so that the next time I need to look good. Because otherwise, if I leave it hanging down for days at a time, what ends up happening is the moist salt air. I live right on the ocean. The humidity comes in, and it makes my hair. It doesn't make it straight, but it gives it more of a straighter wave pattern. And if I'm trying to maintain a certain look, I have to keep it up when I'm not on camera as much as possible. I can't sleep with it clipped up though because it kind of pulls and it kind of hurts, But see, there's a lot of things you guys don't know go on behind the scenes, so that those of us who create content are able to maintain our images so that we look a certain way. It cooled off a little bit today. Try a bonnet. Sometimes I use bonnets, especially when my hair is in braids. I have one that I do believe, if it's not silk, it sure feels like silk. One of them puffs out all the way around like a chef's hat, and the other one actually is long for like the real long braids when the people braid extensions in their hair. Because I found one bonnet in the street actually, and I washed the hell out of it. And the longer one was given to me by an acquaintance. And they're nice because they cut down on some of the friction when you're sleeping. Some people swear by silk pillowcases, but what I don't like about them is I slide off of them because our floors are warped in this apartment. The building itself is condemned. And since the floors are warped, the bed is tilted. And also, my bed is breaking. It's a futon mattress. The mattress has some places where the springs are actually poking through and actually made me bleed. So I have inverted plates so that I don't get poked. And some of the metal supports are broken off, and the mattress actually sags down. So anyway, it's nothing like a fancy hotel mattress or anything. I'm just going to leave this behind when we move out of here, rather than carry things unnecessary that are no longer good. So, I hope that other cell phone doesn't have the same problem with the only letting me use up so much, just a small percentage of its internal storage. I mean, they say, I checked the settings, and they say that it has a capacity that it's supposed to have. But then it goes and says that there's no more room to take pictures. And the thing is, I'm looking at everything else that takes things in there, and I know how much the apps are taking up. I know how much the operating system is taking up. There is literally well over 200 gigabytes of storage that is in it. That, why can't I use it for my pictures? I don't understand. The main reason why I got a cell phone in the first place is so that I had something small and portable that could allow me to take pictures and video with a really good camera, and also had internet capability so I could upload things to social media, and most importantly, YouTube. Something else I'm ordering is a couple of those 4 gigabyte portable hard drives that are, to help back up my channel. And 8 gigabytes will not, or not gigabytes, terabytes, excuse me. And that would not be enough to back up this channel. Because it turns 14 on September 4th. So I gotta find something to do to celebrate this channel's birthday. September 4th. You know, it's like on my birthday, I like to be doing something fancy, whatever, you know, depending on where I'm at and, you know, what's available. But for my 14th birthday, my channel's birthday, I don't know if how many of my channel birthdays I've ever made. I think I may have done a live stream last year, but I definitely, it was 2011 that I started this channel, September 4th, 2011. And I had no idea what I would be doing things. Hi, Joe Tuna. Well, thank you. Hey, polite compliments are always okay. Trust me, it takes, when I think of what rudeness is, I had a house guest over a couple of days ago that was just, I don't know how much alcohol he was on or what, but he was really obnoxious and he was rude and he kept on using his liking me as an excuse. If you like somebody and you disrespect them, that kind of doesn't count. And just because you saw somebody and noticed them and saw them around doesn't mean that they knew who you were. You know, but this guy was just really, really obnoxious and he was talking dirty to me and not cute dirty. He was talking offensive dirty and he was talking loud and my door was open. I keep all the doors open so that I can hear my mom if she needs me, you know. And this guy was being really, really, really. You're driving and you're drunk? Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you. This, I got this. Wasn't even sure I liked it that much. It was too long to be a mini skirt, but I didn't, and it was obviously too big. But I didn't realize that I could actually wear it a couple of different ways. I tried it with a belt, and this belt's actually a rubber band, by the way. And this is actually a pleat, but it made a natural V, so I just safety pinned it to a strapless bra, and that's how I got this. But I did something stupid. I usually put a garter belt to keep my stockings up, and I decided to see if the stockings would stay up on their own. Because, you know, these are kind of the dangerous kind to wear because they cut off your circulation, and that can lead to spider veins, which I have several of them, by the way. And it's not good to mess with your circulation, but when you're wearing a fashion, how are we to know? Oh, I saw her in person once, not in a musical setting, but on the streets of Hollywood. One of the last years I was there, I'm going to show you guys something. I used this palette for my eyeshadow. And because we were supposed to be packing to move, I packed up almost all my makeup brushes. I have been using nothing but my fingers for the past couple of weeks. So, yeah, that's I've been doing it a totally different way. Before I put eyeshadow on, I always use this white base. This is I got this from either Wish or Temu. Almost everything is in Chinese. And this was a little over $2. I got a white one and I got a black one. And if you need to do a kind of sheer gothic white face, you can do this. I got the white and the black so that I could do my zebra stripe. But the black, by the way, I've used on part of my eyelid to prep it for a black eyeshadow and let it really, really, really last. You know, I'm not a neutrals girl at all. But somebody left this behind this where I live, and I covered it with alcohol. I basically killed every germ that the crackheads left behind with that or whatever they did. I mean, it's like the girls around here don't really wear makeup, and even the girls that are walking the streets, they don't wear makeup. So who would use something like this? I don't know, but this has a black, this has a white, And the only colors I really use besides the black and the white and the off-white and one just a little bit darker than off-white is the lightest frosts. I love both these frost whites. They have a little tiny bit of gold in them. And this gold, I love this a lot. Once it gets more, and this gold I love too. Once it gets more toward the brown category, I'm not a neutral person. But every now and then, they can be useful to have, because I mean, some people use them one neutral that's fairly close to their skin color to help blend their other colors. But I find it just interferes with the purity of the bright colors that you have in your skin. And if the colors that you're trying to blend together don't naturally have anything in common, it's just going to look like gray, crappy, whatever in the middle. Like you can blend a pink and orange and red colors like that, and you can blend a yellow with them. But try to blend the green with the red and think about how it's going to look in the middle, unless you have a color in the middle that you have a lot of that middle color. But, just some things I've learned through the years. But anyway, this palette says the Bridal series and P. Louise. Last Fling Before the Ring, Wedding Wish XL. What a boring palette. I'm sorry. If this is a special palette for your wedding night, don't you think you'd have some fancy colors? Or is this for when you want to make it look like you're not wearing makeup, even though you're married a shitload of makeup, because you want the person that you're marrying thinking that you're a natural beauty and all that? Like, I don't know. I really much prefer brighter palettes like this Mimosa palette. I just thought that was so precious. And even this seems a little bit demure, you know. What I like is when you use your fingers to apply your eyeshadow, you got it a nice way. A lot of times, you the same color you use to apply, you use a different color to blend so that you don't use too much. You have some extra of a color that might be a blush color, you can use that for your cheeks. And it's just like if you had a real white frosty color left over in your fingers, you can use that for highlighter. So, but yeah, I've just been using nothing but my fingers lately because I'm packed up, and some of where I'm packed up, I know where the stuff is. Some other of the stuff I packed up, I don't know where the stuff is. So if I don't know where the stuff is, I'm kind of in deep due to. Okay, I just dropped a water bottle. Okay. Yeah, I like to know where water bottles are because I keep on hearing they're really dangerous to have near windows because sunlight can come in there and can amplify the sun's rays and concentrate them, and they can start fires. So be careful with crystal balls. Be careful with water bottles. Don't leave them in your parked cars. Don't leave them in the sun. Don't leave them near windows because these guys will do like what prisms do, except for instead of refracting light into its many colors, they can concentrate it. So be careful. Juvia's Place palettes. I have seen some of them. They're cute. They're like the square shaped and they're more portable. I got a lot of the Color Pop palettes. I got a few of those. What's the name now? It's Too Faced palettes. I like the candy scents in the makeup, but they mix too many neutrals in their palettes. And I find some palettes that at first I liked, but I realized that there was only like 3 or 4 colors that I liked, and the rest of them were too neutral, or like something that thinking, oh my goodness, that's a purple. But it went on like it was almost black. It was really, 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 really dark, even if you blended the heck out of it. So I actually gave away almost all my Too Faced things. Color Pop I got a foundation that I liked on sale. It was the palest one that I could find. And I have to be real careful with foundation makeup because now I find it hard to make it to wear it because it seems to accentuate the lines of my forehead, and I end up looking like Soupy Sales after he's been pied in the face, you know. And the thing is that one of the things I like about a foundation is I like its ability to even out discoloration and freckles and stuff. I can't stand my freckles and stuff. That's why I like the white sunblocks. They help to give a white cast, which if you got the pallor like I have, it is like a foundation and it's good for sunblock. And since I have a supply of sunblock now, you know, um, I had to be so careful today because I'm thinking when I had someplace to be from like 9 o'clock on. So I left the house around 8:30 or so. And even though I could have worn just a t-shirt, I wore a little jacket because I wanted to keep the sun off of me. Because when you're in the noonday sun or anytime after 9:30, 10 o'clock, and especially if you're in a place where you can't get any shade. If I go on the boardwalk, the sun is right there. And I have an umbrella, but the wind, the gust of wind, just trashes my umbrellas, you know. Uh, Truth of the matter, you said what happened to the chat? Um, what do you mean? Is it not on? Everything should be on. RX Files, thank you for your compliment on the dress. This was from a clothes giveaway in the park, and I saw it. Just, you know, I always have an antenna for things like skirts and dresses, and especially if I even think it's going to fit. Most of the clothes tend to be much, much larger, but as far as large clothes go, I'm always looking for things from my mom. Today I got her 2 t-shirts, you know, and I got a pair of red socks and a pair of blue socks because I was asking them if they had anything red, white, and blue. Because it's never too late to think about a Washington, D.C. trip. And for there, so much of my palette is red, white, and blue. And the thing is, when I got home, I realized the blue sock said Buffalo, and the red socks say Tampa Bay. And they're the socks that go almost to the knee. But the thing is, if the word was on the bottom of the feet, I would have liked it more because I kind of don't want, since they're obviously pertaining to sports teams, and I don't want to give people the wrong idea. Boy, I don't know why I've been sneezing today. Yeah. I'm going to have to. Now, it looks like I guess I'm going to try to use this machine for my live streams and my videos as much as possible now because I don't like what this is doing. I hate being filmed in reverse when I go live. Oh, do I have any children? No, I do not. Because I've never been married. And it seems to me that a person should get married first. Just my opinion. I'm just getting a tissue. I'm not using it. Well, when I'm looking at clothes, one of the things I also ask people is, you know, if they're asking me if there's something in particular I'm looking for, I'm always looking for things with cats on them. So, you know, having to keep pulling these up is kind of driving me a little bit crazy. What else do I want to show you? I found this on the boardwalk. Somebody left this behind near one of the flower boxes where I go looking for roaches and stuff. And it's made of hard plastic. Excuse me. And it's orange. And I don't know why I find an attraction to it. But I'm thinking maybe I can put that with things I leave at the cat grave. I still need to go and do that. And the thing is, I wanted to do a video with that. I'm thinking if I do, in fact, definitely get that other phone, maybe that will be the video that I do, because uh, now I can even my this signal actually reaches to the grave, believe it or not. But the only problem is if I end up filming in reverse on the other cell phone, I'm gonna be angry, because there's got to be a way to not do it, because this isn't reversed when you guys see me. Whenever I've seen the replays on my live streams, I always see that this looks normal. My name looks normal and stuff. When I had the big Trump flags and stuff, which you can't see it because I have it near. It would, if it was extended over this way, it would cover the window, and I've got the window as unexposed as possible to let as much light in. I've got all kinds of lights wherever. But anyway, I wanted to show you that because I don't know why. I just wanted it. Sometimes I take things for a while and then I end up passing them back away. Oh, I got this in one of the back alleys. It's made of a real hard cardboard. And because tigers are big cats, it's mine now. I don't know where this came from, but when I was cleaning out the front room, when the ceiling was caving in, I found this. And I thought this would look good where I have these cats that are visible. I don't even know if you could see that from there. Let's see. But yeah, this phone, it's really giving me some. I don't want. See, I have not given the review on the site I bought it from yet. I want to give myself a chance to figure out how to really use it before I say, oh, it's got this thing wrong, and find out that all I would have had to do is do a setting. I don't want to disrespect the seller by giving a premature, imperfect score, you know. But anyway, getting back to my clothes, you'll find that I like to rework a lot of the things that I get. I have sometimes cut things apart. Sometimes I misjudge whether or not I'm going to be able to squeeze into something, and it's a kitty thing that's really for a little kid, and I'll end up having to cut some of the elastic and make it so that I could stretch it over my head. Because if I could fit it over my head and I could get it down past here, then if it's long enough to cover my butt, and there are things that I've reworked, that I have made a top out of something, or I've made a skirt out of something, or if something is too tight around the armholes, I've made a halter thing that has an open back, but you slip it over the head and it's unbroken at the waist, and all you have to do is wear a bra underneath it. Or there are things where you can cut the legs off and you can make stockings with them. I do that a lot, because footless stockings, you can wear any kind of socks you want. And then if you want to go walk on the beach, you can take your socks off and you don't get sand in your socks. And these sandals I have now, I love them because they're the perfect beach shoe. Between these and Crocs, they're Crocs I would like more, because even though they're not as attractive, they give you protection on your toes. These, when I had injured my one little toe, and I thought that it was actually drunk, I was very concerned that I was walking around with it having no protection at all, because all you need is to have a run-in with your drunk friend and forget about it. And most of my friends are a lot bigger than me, and can you imagine a guy with heavy boots, work boots or something, step on my feet? That would not be fun. Oh, one of my friends gave me this. I am, it just has a thing that I can attach this, I could put keys on it, or I could just attach it to the edge of a purse or something to quietly represent, you know. When I went out today, I had my hair still in these things, so I couldn't wear my hat because this was like up here. And I don't know that it looked all that attractive, but I didn't want my hair to blow out before I got to get some looks out of it. Now I might go out tonight. I don't know. And if I do, that means I'm probably going to do another shitty reverse live stream. But if I do, I'll do it from the Tropicana. That's really my favorite place to go live. Because all the other places are too noisy. They really are. I noticed somebody made a comment last week saying that why am I trying to get all this free stuff? Why don't I just, like I should pay for things that I don't need that I get from other ways. It just doesn't make any economic sense to me. First of all, I have a family landline. I don't need to be reached 24/7 at the hip. If I'm home, I can be reached. People can leave messages. I am on the internet most waking hours, unless I'm someplace where there is no reception and I don't have an internet device. But when I am home, a computer is open and I am checking on things. I am very well wired. I get very little sleep because there's always dishes to wash. There's always clothes to wash. My mother wants water. I have to fix her meals. Accidents happen. They need to be fixed. Something boils over and I need to clean that up. Uh, and yes, I like to take time to watch TV sometimes. I love to watch Fox News Channel. And then sometimes I do like to put the weather on because uh, I might not always want to take off whatever the screen is, whatever's on my screen. But there's also the weather on the internet. Uh, but, now I'm starting to wonder if our doorbell is ringing all the way because the last time a friend of mine came over, he rang the doorbell and it didn't seem to even ring. I went downstairs because I was about to go in the front to smoke weed right in front because it just felt just so breezy and felt so nice. And anyway, he was right there and I hadn't heard him ring the doorbell. I'm going to close my door for a minute. This was hot tea, by the way. Oh, I want to show you two other things that I use. On my skin. This is rose water. I guess it's made from rose petals and it's distilled. And this seems to have some glycerin mixed in it. It's got a tiny bit of thickness to it. This was the one I used prior to this, and I got on Chibu. And this was before all the tariffs and stuff. It's probably a lot more expensive now. But you see, this has a spray bottle that I like to just take regular tap water and just put it on my face when I'm here and I'm home and I don't have makeup on. And it just feels really refreshing and it adds some moisture. And you can do that before putting a tiny little bit of moisturizer on. But I've already told you guys I don't have air conditioning. This place gets really hot. Right now it's not hot. You don't hear any fans running. So that's why you should be able to hear me, hopefully. But the hottest months of the year, I cannot wear moisturizers on my face. Even at night, after I wash my face, I love the feeling of my skin being clean with nothing on it. And once it's no longer hot like this and I'm not sweating all the time, then I love skincare and I layer things. I love the retinoids. I love putting vitamin C powder in a light moisturizer and stuff. But I don't, this time of year, usually, I just cannot tolerate anything on my face except for the sunblock. And the sunblock, I'm pretty religious with that. The only time I'm too lazy to put sunblock on is there's some days when I'm not going to be anywhere near the window at all. I don't have the windows, the coverings obscured. When I was sick with pneumonia and I was laying around, I missed a lot of days because I was just not. I was tired and yet I didn't get enough sleep because I was coughing so much. Oh, when you're coughing and coughing and coughing and coughing, oh, I was miserable with that. This is another lighter moisturizer my friend Debbie sent. I don't know how many months ago, but anyway, this is Korean skincare. It has hyaluronic acid. It's a moisture emulsion. It's very light. You could just press it in the tiniest amount. And but sometimes when I get up in the morning, sometimes I will wash my hands and then I'll put a tiny little bit of this on before I put my sunblock on. But it depends. And of course, the SPF number is depending on what time we're going to go out and stuff. Because I usually keep my face shaded, with the umbrellas and the visors and the baseball caps and stuff. Now, I knocked this on the floor, so I'm actually going to put that in the front room so I can wash it. I'm back. Hey, I was talking to my mom about something. She says she wants a cup of tea. And so I threw some more water into the coffee maker because, when you leave a tea bag in the carafe for hours, it concentrates things. And I always do what Dr. Oz suggested, which is dunk it 100 times. I do it 108 times because the Hare Krishnas, they like the number 108. And when they say the Maha Mantra, they try to do it on the beads 108 times each session. So, I can't wait to wear this. I hope it's short enough to wear as a dress. Yeah. I haven't even tried it on yet. Okay, I think my mom's tea should be ready. Um, I do love the kitty spoon. I have a black one also, but it is still. And I think I have a bigger spoon that has a cat face on the. If somebody were to dump a bucket of water on me, most of the curls would go away. But then I would get a different kind of wave pattern. So this is just. Pants, pants, pants. Oh, good. I see something else here. Oh, this is a notebook that I'm using for my YouTube channel for these past couple of months. This is how I keep track of the stuff that I film, and I know it's good enough to post. I write the runtime and the file number. With the cell phone, I identify files by the running time. With computers, I identify the files by the numerical. They're all shot in chronological order, so they all show the month and the day in a year, and so you can keep track of your videos that way. And if you put things through an edit, then it puts a number in parentheses and stuff, so it's easy to. Now, for editing on a cell phone, I have no idea. And I think this is probably really, really uh, obsolete. You got to understand, this is a very, 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 very cheap. It doesn't have a name. I paid $58.11. That's after tax, even. This is a very, very, very cheap thing. I like the specs on the camera. One of the cameras is 50 megapixels. Of course, the cheapest one though is only 13 megapixels, but still, it's better than what you guys are seeing through this. But I'd still like to know why I am being filmed in reverse. It is very unsatisfying. Okay, time for my mom's tea. I'm back. Okay, she's got her tea, and since there's only like a quarter cup left, I just put on another pot of tea and another bag. And isn't this pretty badass? This is way too big for me, but you know what? You could wear this in the wintertime with a long sleeve shirt underneath it. I can see you can. Oh man. No, I just took a cetirizine pill. I hope I'm not coming down with something. I mean, how could I? I just had pneumonia last month. And, oh man. You see, this is the thing. Is it's very hard for me to take care of myself. I'm not getting enough sleep. I mean, you're a caregiver. Your feelings don't really matter. I'm tired. Guess what? If she's thirsty, I gotta get her water. If she's hungry, I gotta fix her something. You know, regardless of how I feel. That's just how it is. I know that. Uh, you guys over 21? I'm about to do a very grown up thing. Well, first let me blow my nose. Oh, look at this hat I got today, but I gotta wash it. I could fix this up, and I could even end up selling it or something, you know, since I am going to Washington next year. Right now, until further notice, I probably can't leave town because of mom and stuff. But, you know, the better, the stronger she gets, and the more she can handle things on her own, then I'll be able to go away for like a long weekend and stuff and start doing things because, you know, life does go on and people still do things. And I know enough people that I can have people check in on her. I could drop key off. There's like a few people who I do trust that I've known enough years that know my whole family, you know. But you know, if I wash this, totally get rid of the stain, you know, let's see. Oh, I wanted to show that shirt that you guys only got to see during the other live stream and it was reversed. This is the shirt that I was wearing. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was something, huh? And for any of you who are confused about, because you know a few things about my politics, yes, I am pro choice. Yes, I support Trump. Yes, I am a pro choice Republican. I think for myself, and I don't necessarily fit in people's neat little boxes. So, yeah. But all I know is this is the way the shirt is supposed to look. It's not supposed to look reversed like when I go live with this. No. I hope the next cell phone I use does not reverse my live streams. Because this one I'm paying 60 something dollars for. And it's got double the capacity of this one. I should at least get a good month of filming out of it. You know? I guess this is what the alternative to spending top dollar on one device only to have you lose it or it gets stolen. These things are so easy to steal. They're so easy to lose. Songbird, hi. You know, I used to have a yellow clapper. You hold it, and it has two plastic pieces in it. You know, it's the sort of thing that people might save for New Year's Eve. You know, when it's midnight, you hang out your window. You know, much nicer than throwing firecrackers and scaring people's pets and vets that have post-traumatic stress and they hear those sounds. Yeah, I'm going to have to wash this soon because I wore this enough. You know, you don't want white to get dingy if you don't wash it right. Oh, I got these pants. They look almost like harem pants. And they're too small for my mom, possibly, or maybe they could fit her. And they probably would not be attractive on me. But I'm thinking maybe if I wore one of those Indian style tunics, it's an elastic waist, so it's a size for anybody. And I love leopard, but oh my goodness, this is made for a taller person, like somebody who's 6 foot tall, and I'm not. Oh, what I was hoping to get. How's the weather in AC today? Well, right now, my computer says it's only 73 degrees. Now, the weather channel is on, but it's muted. And okay. Now, the weather channel says it's 74 here, so it's either 72 or 74, depending on who you believe. And don't go by the airport unless, of course, you're talking to somebody at the airport. You want to go by the beach or the boardwalk. And I'm right literally um, the smallest block from the beach. If I stick my head out enough in the window, out the window, I can see the beach and the boardwalk, the ocean. I can't hear the ocean because I live in the ghetto. But anyway, if these really don't look good, I'll give them back. They're kind of like parachute pants. They're very. Oh, and the oh, I love the tag. It says amber blue. I love animal print. I love leopard. I love zebra. Usually, I prefer my trousers to be spandex. You know, but pants that have a drape can look cool, especially if you're putting together a three-piece suit or something. I want to hang this over something. Oh, did I tell you guys that I found a fitted sheet that's leopard? I don't know what size bed it is or anything, but you could smell the soap. It was washed and everything, and I'm going to save it for the next apartment because animal print. I mean, what's not to love, right? I have this tacky taste. It's probably French Bordello, or I don't know. There's certain things that I like, I've always liked, and later I found out that this is a taste of the cheap saloon girls, back rooms in the Wild Wild West or whatever. I watch a lot of westerns when I'm watching TV with my mom, and most of these houses have wallpaper in them, and then I watch the 50s and 60s television shows, and they have this wallpaper. And it's just a lot of what I'm seeing. I get into the set design, and sometimes I even get inspired by some of the fashions that I'm watching. But like, I'll get inspired by some of the things that men are wearing, like Wyatt Earp, for instance. Wyatt Earp's the lead character. He was wearing a vest and that string bolero tie. And because I kind of have a bit of a body like that, I look good in things like that. So, and meanwhile, I love the pretty saloon dresses the girls are wearing, but they're all corseted up and they got something here and they got something here, you know, and just knowing that most of their hair is wigs doing those things. But you get inspiration from lots of things. Here in Atlantic City, we're seeing more and more people from India and Pakistan, Bangladesh, and you see a lot of those tunics and those baggy pants. And this one lady was getting ahead of me in line. It's like, lines are not a hard concept. You go behind the person ahead of you. You don't split her off into two and then have this merge lane that's always ahead of me. And then so that person who's going ahead of me, she's got a friend who, of course, is also going to jump ahead of me in line. And then it's like you don't want to talk sound like an asshole by making a complaint about it, because after all, we're all in line for food or clothes. Usually that's one of the two things, and sometimes you're right out in the sun, you got to deal with that, and I can't very well open up an umbrella because then I might poke the person behind me in the line, and they don't like that. Turns out people don't like being blinded because they can't pay attention to what's in front of them. Who to thunk it? So anyway, let me put these back on a hanger. I think I'm going to put this in the bag. Okay, I'm back. Where was I? Oh yeah, I was asking if you guys are 21 and older, and hopefully you're not babysitting kids in front of you right now. 'Cause I wanted to talk about something grown-up topic. And I wanted to do something that's supposed to be only for grown-ups. I might not act the most mature, but I am a grown-up, and I'm about to find my bowl, and I'm not talking about salad. Uh, where is? Oh, here you are. My Hello Kitty bag. Oh, where's my device? Where is that? Huh. Okay, I am trying to find my yellow glass pipe, and I space it somewhere. That's what we pilots do. Oh, goodness. I don't know what's going on here, but I do know that if you guys are all 21, I live in Atlantic City, New Jersey, which is a fully legal state. Don't even need a medical card, and I do enjoy cannabis. And my nose is running. Like, who turned on the spigot? Excuse me. All right. Sorry about that. My sinus is always bad, but right now I don't understand what the heck is going on. But I do know that I have this little bit of really good smelling weed. Not like that dirt weed that a neighbor gave me yesterday. And it wasn't a gift, actually. It was an exchange of sorts. That it was. It didn't look really good and it didn't taste real good, but on the exhale, it smelled good. And it didn't last me a long time. It was. He said it was 1.9 grams, and even though the first time I smoked it was in the morning and it was a wake and bake, and you know how the wake and bake wee little bit is all you need, you know. Anyway, bottom line, it still didn't last long. So, oh, cheers. You know, this is supposed to be the last week of the summer. I don't know about you. I'm not ready to see the summer go. As much as I hate when it's too hot and you can't escape it because you can't, you know, if you're living, you know, and there's no breeze and stuff, that sucks. But there's nothing like summer nights. There's nothing like being able to wear very little and hang out, find friends, and just share the positive vibes. And it just, you know, people tend to be, there's 2 times a year that I think that people seem to be at their best: Christmas time and summertime. People just seem like they're already in a better mood. Something about great weather or something about not having, right now at least, for this 5 minutes that people are sharing a moment. You don't have to worry about the stresses of life, worrying about work, responsibilities, just, you know, maybe growing up in a resort town where people come from all over. And I still don't know what it is that people see in this town, except for, okay, I see that we have amusements that people like. I understand that. Yeah, my nose are running. Contact the fire department, man. Put me to work. Man, there's got to be a way to use snots as fire suppression or something, because it seems to me that that would really, that's dense and that would really put out some fires. Oh, my sinus. Where was I? Oh yeah. So now I'm glad I didn't give this away. Now I realize since I can wear it as a dress, I'm glad I have it. And if I ever have some kind of function where I have to look kind of presentable and maybe a little bit on the normal side, I can wear this as a respectable length skirt. So, if there are things like, say I got a job in Capitol Hill or something, I could definitely keep this. So, but I do have a bunch of three-piece suits. If I ever got a chance to do something with them, I have almost all of my father's ties, if not all of his ties. A lot of his T-shirts, because he was not a tall man. I even have one of his Pittsburgh Steelers sweatpants that is it's a style they don't make anymore. It's really big, and I have to be very careful because it has drawstring waistband, and it gets caught in when I have certain kind of body piercings. If I have a piercing that's the same as this, uh, my nose right now, that gets caught in everything. So they're really, I don't recommend this style for belly rings. I mean, unless you can be absolutely sure you're not going to get caught on anything. You could get caught on a loose thread in a blanket. And imagine how painful that would be. You're not expecting, just like I wouldn't recommend these kind of piercings for here either. Anything that can be caught. A standard captive bead ring is best for not. It'd be like this. You won't get caught on anything except maybe like a fishing hook or something. Fishnets, that can be tricky with certain things. If I have any gothic people in my audience, you guys understand. I love fishnets. I love fishnets. The only thing I don't like about fishnets is during the daytime, they offer absolutely no sun protection. So, like, I have worn opaque white stockings underneath them, but the thicker your stocking, the harder it is to get the garter belts to work. You know, Sometimes I get desperate and I have to use safety pins. Now, you ever had a safety pin open up on you when you're walking around or sitting? Oh boy, it gets your attention right away. Okay, don't let your kids see this. This is marijuana. I'm over 21. I'm in a legal state. It says Maddie's Beach Angels. And it says you can do hard things. I found this a couple years ago. There are some people with paint shells. There's even some chick that she's homeless and she sells painted seashells by resorts. And see, resorts is where the cops wanted me to go with my guitar. After I paid for the license and all that stuff. The background check, the fingerprinting for ID, um, and you have to get insurance, just all these hoops you got to jump through. I really didn't want to be working in such a concentrated area where if you're not amplified, nobody can hear you, and there's no shade. And according to the permit, it restricts the hours in which you could start. And the thing is, because I can't be in the sun, I don't go until after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, usually. And I think in the fine print it says you got to clock out at midnight. And I have worked in the summertime. I play guitar till 3 o'clock in the morning. I've made myself do a long day because you never know when people are going to be in the right frame of mind, or maybe somebody just hit a jackpot and they're feeling like they're being generous, or maybe somebody's intoxicated. Not that I'm the kind of person to take advantage of intoxicated people, but as anybody that's ever worked for tips knows, people are often more generous when they're lit. The motorcycle's loud. I have my window open. Yes, I do. I have Well, this window's open, but it has a window fan in it, but it's not on. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it's working right now. I think it got rained on one too many times. But when I try turning it on, it's not on. I couldn't turn it on right now because it's not plugged in, because I only have two outlets here. One is my computer. The other is my set lights. So, but I have no fans running. But yes, we have some people with these motorcycles that run around up and down this main street right here. And then you have these people on these tricycles that are basically like motorcycles, but they're got the two wheels in the back, and they don't have room for. They're only two seaters, and I don't think they can haul any gear at all. But they have the loudest sound system known to man. I mean, you're talking club. Why does anybody need to be that loud? How does anybody have eardrums left? And I feel bad for the people that are wearing hearing aids, so they're amplifying things. And then somebody goes with this. I see people sometimes in cars and their windows are rolled up and they're blasting really, really loud nightclub sound systems. 3, 4 in the morning. They come back from clubs, and I'm sure these people are drunk and they just don't realize that what they've been subjecting themselves to for the past 4 or 5 hours, and they're drinking more and they're doing whatever. And so they're out in the real world and they don't realize that they are subjecting other people, catching them by surprise and subjecting people to this. One thing I remember when I was living in Los Angeles and doing the clubs there, when there were clubs in residential areas, there were big signs saying, be mindful of your neighbors, keep things quiet. It reminded people that there are people above you. I never started to think that if something's in the ground floor and this is in a building, there might be people living in upper floors. I live on the second floor. When there's people downstairs doing different things, did they give any thought to whether it impacted people up here? They didn't give a rat's behind. But yeah, we get things. This is a one-way street here, and this street here is like practically 24 hours because it's close to the beach and stuff. And that's the best thing about living here, is it is close to the beach and the boardwalk, and most of the casinos are all near each other except for the ones in the marina. I really love the marina, but you can't safely walk there. Now in the marina, I noticed something. If you go by the marina, that's the bay, okay? And even though you may not need a jacket at nighttime here, for some reason the water the breezes coming off of the water right there is colder. It's a good 15 degrees colder than it is when you're walking on a boardwalk. Now, I may be just as close to the water, depending on the shoreline, And of course now, especially since we just had that storm, there's a lot of beach erosion. But the beach erosion, from what I saw, it seemed like it's probably a lot worse past Ocean Casino. Excuse me. Now, Ventnor and Margate, they had some flooding here, which they did during Sandy. People had some real problems here. It never floods here. For 2 hours it floods and water goes back down. And by flood, I mean water may come into an intersection and it may go over the storm drains and it may cover the corner, but it would only go about a foot or so onto the sidewalk, and it would be this big puddle in the middle. But like I said, 2 or 3 hours, it goes down. Even when things are windy and things are floating around there, things really don't stay. Things do drain. That's been my experience. I've never had water come up to past the second floor thing. I don't know what it'd be like to try to get roof access and be airlifted. So, I'm grateful that I don't have to know what that feels like. But we never ever evacuated storms here. Mostly because until very recently, you could not take pets with you when you got to the shelters. And we were all like, if we can't take our cats, we're not going anywhere. Cats are family. What are you going to do? Leave something to drown? No. I hear too many stories of people neglecting their animals during those fires in California, and they feel bad that their back was too sore and they couldn't. They'd make greater effort to take their cats with them. No, but you got your stuff with you. You have all these pictures you could post of. You got your cell phone. You got your clothes. You got some money. I bet you did that. You got your car out there, but you didn't bring your cat and dog. No. You know, now everybody's talking about the 20-year anniversary of Katrina and all those poor people, especially in the ninth ward, and just where the water was like 20 feet above your head. I can't even. And because there was a poor neighborhood, a lot of people couldn't afford to get out, and there was a lot of disabled people, and nobody had vehicles. And, you know, I identify with that. You know, but I always worry about getting my mom out safely as quickly as possible. You know, that's another reason I'm really glad that that stairwell is much more open. It's been swept clean. You know, as far as the van guy, I haven't seen him since last Saturday. He came by. He gave me a handful of good weed. He stayed with us in another situation where he is getting access to food and it's climate controlled, but it's another church that's putting him to work, and they have all these materials that they paid for, but they have not paid him anything. And he is doing things because he's a nice person. He's, you know, there's a lot of nice people in this world that decide that they're just going to give, and they're just too kind. They get taken advantage of, and this poor guy. I mean, when you think about how the government takes advantage of people, like when he got his van impounded. And the thing is, he had things of his in it. He had medicines with his name on it. He had a tablet. He had whatever else was in there, the tools that he used to make earn a living. But because the van was registered in the state of Indiana or Illinois, one of the two, and the person it was registered to was a person that lived in not Haiti, Jamaica, something like that. And the guy had already left the country. So meanwhile, he'd given him, my friend Felix, this van. The man was sleeping in it. When the cops finally took it away and impounded it, even though he showed his passport, he showed his ID, because the the registration needed to be renewed. And because it was not in his name, even though the guy couldn't be contacted because he was out of the country, they would not let him get his personal property out of there. And I don't understand that. He had all the ID and everything, and he had things which was obvious was his. Why they would, and if they're holding this for quote unquote evidence, the person whose name other things are in is out of the country. What part of out of the country? How the hell do you track somebody down that's out of the country? It would not be, because it's not like somebody was guilty of any kind of crime or anything. It would not be financially worth it for the state of New Jersey, DMV, or the police department or whatever to go across, international, to try to find this guy. I mean, it should be even something you don't have to travel. It should be something as easy as putting a few names in certain databases. And police, hello, they have certain kind of rights, and so do private investigators, that they can get access to information that most of us don't have. But if Felix could contact that guy and get things straightened out, and so that Felix could get his property back. What good does the state of New Jersey have in holding some old man's medicines? What good does the state of New Jersey or the Pleasantville Police Department have in withholding some old man's tablet and some old man's tools that he uses to work? Is doing electrical stuff and doing construction stuff and all kinds of skills. Like he's helping to fix a roof of some church somewhere right now. And all I wish is for my friends to be okay and to be safe and respect it and not have people be taken advantage of. Because there's people that take advantage of people. They see vulnerabilities in people, and it's guys a lot of times do it to girls, but women do it to men too, and it can end up being a control thing. All I know is when I met him, it was the most innocent thing. His van had broken down in front of my house, and my mom. This was during the time when my mom was in first the hospital, two hospitals, and then a nursing home. And I was going out all the time to visit her, and but I would also get chicken from the chicken lady late at night, and I would stick it in the freezer. So I was having a good supply of food, and I was encouraging my friends to ring my doorbell so I could feed them. And I had a pretty good supply of coffee. Then I had a lot more than I have right now. And when I saw him sleeping in the van, at first he thought that I was going to like call the cops on him or something. It's like, why would I do that? He could not tell by looking at me. I know what it's like to sleep in a car before. He didn't know by looking at me. I know what it's like to be homeless. I know what it's like to be in a city where I don't know anybody and I'm just trying to keep a low profile so that people don't think I'm trying to cause trouble. When I was living in Phoenix and Tempe, that was a real interesting thing because I had the promise of there was going to be housing there and stuff. And when I went there, guess what? I'm living in a series of hotels because the person who told me that there was housing there, she had a little problem with telling this thing called the truth. And she also had a problem with not doing this thing called bouncing checks. And she bounced a check to my mother. She bounced checks to pay for the airplane tickets. I don't know if you can even write a check for airfare anymore, but we flew out of Burbank Airport to Phoenix, and I went along with her and had my little adventure. But when she and I parted company, I ended up finding a bunch of deadheads, and I went on tour with the Grateful Dead, and that was awesome, you know. But yeah, that was awesome. I'm glad I got to do it because a couple years later, Jerry died, and I was in San Francisco, as a matter of fact, uh, on in Golden Gate Park. The day that he died, it turned out, because I didn't play the radio. I was kind of homeless at the time and wasn't up on what was going on all the time. The only thing close to internet was this thing called FidoNet that people accessed if they went to certain things. I guess now you could call them like cyber cafes. You go and you could sit at this like individual booth with a chair in it, and sometimes you could get things to eat, but not always because food can spill on keyboards unless it has a special covers. I've been special cyber cafes where you get food and airtime comes with it, and that was awesome. But I found this big cross-shaped sign that said Jerry's Dead, and I thought it was the name of a band. I figured if you can have the Dead Kennedys, why not? Right, and it turned. And there was this big circle of like 40 or 50 people passing around joints, big joints, and the people there was gothic people, and there was lots of hippies. And there was a good amount of punk rockers and people that now you would know as the people that would go to rainbow gatherings. There was a very white people with dreadlocks vibe, which is the first time I ever saw. And the first time I ever saw black people with blonde hair, that was that they really bleached their hair, or maybe they were wearing wigs. I don't know. Was in Tempe, Arizona. There's people that were going to Arizona State University. There were hippies that were wearing ankle-length sarong skirts, and they were wearing their hair in dreadlocks, and they were blonde dreadlocks, and there was just things that now is very commonplace, but at the time I'd never seen anything like that before because they weren't like I was no stranger to drag queens. I was no stranger to the very occasional trans person. That was certainly not like commonplace things usually going on nowadays. But uh, Arizona State University was I really enjoyed the time that I was hanging out there. But the cops are real strict with homeless people. And one of my gigs was I was a tarot card reader there, and I also dip dyed people's dreadlocks. If they had blonde hair, I used ink. So I found a supply of ink in one of the buildings I was squatting, and I realized that you could actually dip dye, you let the dye soak, and depending on what the dye is made of, and if the people aren't going to be showering, and a lot of that crowd, they probably weren't showering too excessively. And you can avoid, when you're showering, you can avoid shampooing your hair. I did that. All those, that was once my hair was braided. And then as I was finally starting to take my braids out, that guy, I had that problem with that bad guy, and he smashed my computer during that live stream by Tropicana. You know, that's the thing, is you think that things are always safe and you take things for granted. And then occasionally something creepy happens that reminds you, look, you're still in the city. There's still strangers out there. You don't know what somebody's capable of, and you don't know the dead person that may have been a face in a crowd for years might one day do something nasty. You know? So I have to keep my eyes around me at all times. Another thing about this piercing is you have to look closely to make sure that you don't have pieces of tissue stuck on it. Things will get stuck on here. Luckily, I usually see first, but I would hate to have debris. Yeah. What science is shitting? Let's get another tissue. Okay. Got a cup. I got a box here just so you can see. I am going to. Well, first of all, I don't want to imbalance the weight of things on here. All right. Try to be on the center here. Pour myself some tea. Put some lime in it. Put the lime in the coconut. Drink it all up. Put the lime in the coconut. Call me in the morning. I said, Doctor. This is how I measure this. I'm going through a lot of honey. I find that either honey or sugar in the raw gives a much warmer taste than using sweet and low. That's the artificial sweetener I like. I try to stay away from aspartame. I really don't like how when you want a diet soda, they switched over. I remember, well, I shouldn't say that, but they didn't always use aspartame. We used to have a class of sweeteners called cyclamates, and they got federal FDA outlawed them when the 70s, I think, claiming that they could give if you use a very ridiculous amount of them, like the equivalent of 1,000 glasses of soda a day. to mice, they got cancer. And it turned out that Donald Rumsfeld at the time was head of another agency, and there were some political things going on behind the scenes, and there was really nothing wrong with cyclamates, and they never should have been taken off the market. And as far as what's in sweetened love, which is sodium saccharin, that is my preferred sweetener of choice. Okay, but again, it's a cooler sweet, if that makes any sense, as opposed to the warm sweet of a sugar or honey. And for tea, I really prefer a warmer sweet than a cooler sweet. And some of those other sweeteners, I think, have aftertaste. They're really too much. And some, like stevia, I cannot stand. Oh, you know what? Speaking of honey, if you get honey that's from fairly local beehives, it's supposed to help with your immune system. If you can get bee pollen, one of the things I used to do when I lived in San Francisco, and I lived right where a farmer's market was twice a week, and I would get the sheets of beeswax that you wrap and make candles with, which being that I'm into magic and stuff, I would use candles a lot, obviously, different colors for like the planets, days of the week, whatever. But I would get a jar of bee pollen, and I would eat like a tablespoon of it a day as a little snack, knowing it was good for me. And it's been years since I've done this, because I would imagine it's a lot more expensive now. But it was something that I did. And at the time, it took what they call EBT, which I guess is food stamps in whatever their forms, or cash, or charge, or whatever. You could probably use the Apple Pay and the different online methods that people are using to pay for things. They give you so many options. I think, though, sometimes the merchant ends up having to pay a little fee for using certain other payment methods. That's why sometimes you get a bit of a discount for paying in cash, or they try to give service charges for things, even though I thought that according to the statements on credit cards, it's supposed to be illegal to charge people more. But I don't know, especially since the pandemic, because if somebody has to take a fee, whoever gets levied this fee is going to say, why am I being charged this? It's not fair. And I sympathize with everybody. Us, the consumer, I mean, it's bad enough you have to pay taxes on most things, even though luckily in the state of New Jersey, there's no sales tax on food unless you get it prepared for you. But like groceries, there is no tax on food, except for, I think, junk food. And there's no tax on clothes, unless they think it's Halloween costumes. Then they have a right to charge you tax. I hate it when the things that I wear year-round, like gothic stuff, fishnet stuff, a lot of times that's sold as Halloween costumes. The thing that I love about that time of year around Halloween is that you can go shopping and get things you like, often at a discount, or they'll have Halloween sales. And since my birthday is real close to Halloween, I can go shopping on my birthday and get like in New York City, I would go to this Halloween superstore and I would get Ben Nye Whiteface. Ben Nye is probably one of the best brands of grease paste you can get. It's opaque and yet it's soft, and it will blend out, and you can press it into the skin using any method you like, whether it's a brush or the sponges. I'm really not into the sponges because the sponges absorb too much product. You can always remove excess using a flat tissue put on. I still can't get into primers. Any primer I've ever tried, I think they just accentuate lines and wrinkles rather than give a smooth canvas. Because our faces move, we make expressions. And it disturbs the makeup, and then you can't not make expressions. And it's like if you've got something going on with your sinuses, you can't be blowing your nose and stuff. I did not wear a foundation today. A lot of times I do wear foundation. I blend it very lightly. But today I just used the white looking sunblock, SPF 50. and I press that in my face. But after blowing my nose a number of times, there is redness around my nose. But I didn't use. Sometimes I use after that sunblock. I use a setting powder, very lightly, kind of like you could apply it kind of like you would when you're baking, except instead of doing it just there, you're doing it all over, but you're doing it lightly as opposed to that when you're baking under the eyes, that's kind of a heavy application. You don't want to do it heavy because you don't want to end up filling in lines and accentuate them. Nobody wants to look like you've been hiding the face. I've noticed that sometimes it's just, and it really sucks because if you want to even out your skin tone and everything, and I don't really like sheer things usually because it's like you're looking for coverage. You want something. This is why a lot of people use AEF, uh, you know, uh, not a foundation, concealer. And they put that all over and they just blend it. You're starting in the parts that get darker, like under the eyes and stuff. But I really love that jar of white. I use that. Uh, I would recommend anybody use, if they can find solid, creamy makeup that is kind of similar to their skin tone or a little bit lighter is fine, but just use that as their base for their eye. And then you can, sometimes uh, I will take the setting powder and I will put it, after putting that white stuff on my eye, I will put the setting powder just on top so to ensure that when I put my eyeshadow, I don't accidentally blend it too close to the brown. Because then once you get it up there, it's very hard to correct that without having to, once you have to start trying to remove eyeshadow, the best you can do is add a whole bunch of white or between white and skin tone and try to cover it up. But that's really hard. Oh, man. Well, I'm going to close my door here. I want to make sure that this is very tightly sealed because I don't want honey dripping everywhere. That is what I don't want. Maple syrup. I like maple syrup in coffee. Maple syrup in coffee. Oh my God. One of the things I got from my mom for a while there, we had this store in Tropicana Hotel Casino. It was called Farmer's Almanac General Store. And they had fancy, the best foodstuffs from America and from Canada and some from other places, but for the most part, the Western Hemisphere. But really high quality, high end things. Like, for instance, they had this real spicy hot, like Dave's Spicy Hot, Dave's whatever. But they had this popcorn, single serving, you put in a microwave oven. It was so unbelievably hot. So hot that you would have to make at least 3 packages of regular butter flavored popcorn, microwave stuff, and mix it with it. It was that blazing hot. I mean, so hot that there's no flavor. I mean, I like hot stuff, don't get me wrong, but you want some flavor, But anyway, this store sold some things from Canada, including they had a whole section, coffee shelf, bunch of different coffees, the pouches where this stuff was at the time. This was expensive, $14.50 a pound. They had all these flavors, including maple flavored coffee and chocolate flavored coffee, and of course hazelnut, one of my all-time favorites. The coffee flavored, chocolate flavored coffee. Oh, and they would sell these pouches supposed to be good for a pot. And when I get the so-called 4-cup pouches for the casino things, what I do is I stick them in the carafe and I pour the water over them. So I imagine if I took those pouches that they think you're going to brew normally, I could probably use a lot less since I stick them in the carafe and pour the water over and let it soak that way. And then I just pour it through a strainer. I call it cowboy coffee. But anyway, one time I got her for, I think this was for Mother's Day. They had, well, okay, I'm going to preface this with, they also had merchandise that they would put on a sale rack a couple of months after, like say it's seasonal merchandise, Christmas stuff. After a while, they're going to have it on one or two racks. One of them, it's not a rack, it's a series of tables in the front of the store. And one of them is 50% off, and the other is 75% off. This is where you get your older Christmas decorations. I got a whole bunch of Hello Kitty Christmas decorations for on 75% off. I bought every one they had. They were like, they ended up being only $1.50 or $2 each or whatever. And I got them all. I got a broken um, Wild Wild West. He looked like wasn't a Lone Ranger. It looked a lot like John Wayne. There was a figurine of him that was a Christmas decoration, and I got it because it made me think of how mom and dad like to watch the cowboy stuff at Christmas time, and all that stuff. My father would love to watch all those movies and the war movies and all that stuff. So anyway, I got that. In the Farmer's Almanac, one year I got, it was this assortment of 5 different kinds of maple syrup, from a lighter color to darker, darker, darker. And it said what they were and what the name was. And each one, the darker it was, the more strong, but they were all wonderful. And I couldn't tell you what if I had a favorite one. They were all wonderful. And you know what? Both maple syrup and honey is good on butter pecan ice cream. That's what I like on top of that. If you have some extra nuts, put some on top. But I only like these kind of ice creams when they're really, really cold, when they're still really hard from the freezer. Once it starts to melt and it's all like milk, then, put it back in the freezer. Let it get hard. I don't care if there's little ice crystals. That doesn't bother me. Who the heck's buying ice cream now? It's so high. Oh, there's new places. Since I hadn't been out walking on the boardwalk for a while, there's a couple of new places. I noticed there's one place called Packy Pizza that they have. That's the place that I talked about on the video where I noticed they had ice cream. One scoop was $5. 2 scoops were $9. 3 scoops was $15. And I'm thinking I would get pistachio because I love that. I think I love pistachio more than I love butter pecan. It has more depth of flavor. But another flavor that they said that they had was blueberry. And I'm thinking that sounds like a dream. But then later on, I found out that might not have been really ice cream. That might have actually been a sorbet or sherbet or something. And I really, for those kind of prices, I don't want water ice. I could easily go and get blueberry syrup, or I could get blueberries and I could just reduce it and make a sugar syrup, a simple syrup, and stick it in the freezer or whatever to preserve it. And then next time we're easy to use it, rather than pay those kind of food prices for something that is just going to melt. And like I said, that's really expensive. I know that these places are paying high rents, and the city takes taxes out, and they call a luxury tax. If you get rent a hotel room in Atlantic City, you have to pay an additional tax besides the sales tax. It's some kind of luxury tax. They get you, man. They get you. And the city makes money by charging people they find sleeping out in public $150. You want to sleep on a nice summer night, sleep on the beach. God's Hotel, right? No. Cops are out there in ATVs with the big old searchlights and the big soft tires, and they can kind of make their engines quiet, and they sneak up on people. And, they got so many of my friends. But then again, I heard a cop or two that's friends to some of the people, and tells them that there's places where they let them sleep, and people even pitch tents and stuff. But one of my friends who's a couple who's living out there, they have gone their separate ways, and one gone off to Kentucky, and the other went off to wherever. Apparently, there is witnesses, including some police, that the guy was beating up on his lady, and that's, I only get his version of things because I only usually see him But all I know is, and I let them, I stashed their luggage in my house for like a week. But anyway, I did take him for being a domestic abuser, but he was caught, and it's a shame. So anyway, they're at least 1,000 miles separated. Yeah, she doesn't need to. Abuse does not get better on its own. I know. Uh, so yeah, I recommend this if you want to put something in your hair to keep it. It has enough alcohol that it can definitely kill germs. You don't want to mess the curl up by washing it, or maybe you're afraid of fading out your hair dye, which that is definitely a concern of mine. You know, usually by now, soon after dyeing my hair, I would have started putting braids in it. But the thing is, I'm thinking I want it to look good for the 4th of July next year. And if I braid it now, I might be still untangling it next year because it takes me a long time to untangle my hair. And if something happens and I have to stop filming, then I'm just going to clone my hair up so that my hair always looks good the next time I get a camera in my face. So that's why it's good to have redundant equipment. I'm ordering another cell phone, so I'm going to have something else to film with that will be hopefully not reversing my face during live streams. And I'm going to have to replace this computer because I can't carry it anywhere. The hinge is totally broken. I could get. I see. I don't want to spend more than $300, and I still want the specs I want. I want that 16 uh, gigabyte ROM. Excuse me. And I needed that terabyte. Now, does a Greek yogurt, does it taste enough like ice cream, or does it have that tartness that gives it away that it's ice cream? Even though I know it's good for you because of the live cultures, that there's a lot of good things about yogurt. Uh, One thing I noticed in most recent years, creamiest things I don't really like the consistency of, and it's hard for me to swallow things that don't. Like I like my ice cream to be really hard pack, more than the soft serve. Even though I like the chocolate soft serve that you dip into the plastic, yeah, you dip in the hard chocolate, and it gives this coating, and you can bite down, and there's that crunch. And you only go to get those places that are open during the summer. There's a place here. You could also get the jimmies, little chocolate sprinkles we call jimmies, and you put them on top. And nuts. 'Cause I like to have texture with my ice cream. I like to be able to bite on something, and that's to me that's quintessential summer. It's still got the tang, but it's so creamy and thick. Hey, I'm all about if you can find ways to make your pleasures as healthy as possible. I've always felt like that. I've always, like, when I was making my cocktails and my drinking days, I would use things like V8. I would use things that were healthy mixed in with things. Of course, I was kidding myself that I wasn't still damaging myself by poisoning myself. This is the last thing I'm going to give up. I really enjoy weed. I'm sorry. I enjoy it, especially first thing in the morning. You know, And you know what? I'm proud of myself. I still got out the door early this morning and got things done. Today was really worth it. I got my mom uh, two shirts and a pair of trousers. Okay. I brought her home lunch, like brunch, combination breakfast and lunch. I gave her pasta, and I gave her salad. Unfortunately, get kind of a bit mixed together in the container because I put the serving container in this takeout container. And I didn't realize, and it's a good thing that I also put it in a plastic bag, a clean plastic bag, and I sealed it tight. But it didn't occur to me that I didn't keep it straight. And of course, when you got something in a cart, it's going to be on an angle. But anyway, the important thing is that nothing leaked onto anything. And all the clothes I got, I put that in a plastic bag. So it didn't ruin those things. I love the purple shirt I got. I really love my little purple shirt. And it says it's soft weave cotton. It's a Gildan, yeah, soft style. Uh, Fling spun. You know anything about any cotton t-shirt connoisseurs here that know what fling spun even means? Is this light too much? Is this too much? Should I turn it off? Tell me if you have a preference. I don't want to spill this. Got a wee little bit left. Ring spun. Ring spun. Add not being able to read to my deficits. Oh boy. It says it's a small. I don't know if it's a men's small or women's small. I mean, that's me. Well, I like children's sizes because they fit me even better. But, you know, if I like it, I mean, the color is great, you know. But the bigger things I like because you can layer things underneath them. And if you have to be hanging out outside for any length of time, it's really great to have layers, especially form-fitting long sleeve layers that you can wear under things. When I went to Washington, D.C. this time, I loved having ring spun cotton is a type of cotton fabric produced through a specialized spinning process that uses ring frames to continuously twist and fin cotton fibers into a finer, stronger, and more uniform yarn. Oh man, I'm thinking, damn, you are so sharp. And sometimes I feel like when I talk about things and I reveal the fact that I didn't go out of my way to go and try to find out the information myself, and occasionally a friend will say, "Oh, there is this thing called Google. It's a search engine. It doesn't cost you any money." You know, they get the sarcastic jibes and stuff. And I'll admit there are times when I do get lazy. When, like, say, if I didn't have multiple devices and I didn't have the time to do research, and sometimes when you ask a question to some of these AIs, I notice instead of just answering the question, they give you links to a whole bunch of videos. Who says I have the time to sit through all these videos? Like, I asked the AI why, whenever I did a live stream on YouTube, I was getting filmed in reverse. All they would do is send me some videos that were basically how to live stream on YouTube. It's like, on September 4th, I will have been on YouTube 14 years. I think I know how to go live on YouTube. Hello. Not that I'm an expert, not that I know everything, but I like the feel. You know what I don't really care for too much? Those shirts that have some polyester in them, so they end up feeling kind of plasticky. They look great, but they cling to you and they feel almost like they have some oil in them, you know. But I love fashion and I love clothes, and like I love those Indian clothes, but I notice they never have any elastic in them, and so there's no stretch in the pants, and so a lot of the pants are really, really uh, baggy, which I don't really care for. But then they're tight around the ankle, and you have to struggle to get them over your foot. And yet, when you use them as layering pieces, it is so unattractive because You just poof out your stomach and you've got this fat silhouette underneath your tunic. And I much prefer to wear a trim pant underneath those tunics. And the thing is, in most cases, you can't not wear anything underneath them because it sits all the way up there. It will totally show your butt if you're not wearing long pants. So, you know. But, yeah, I'll talk about itch. I can't wear wool. Cannot stand wool. And now I love lace, but sometimes lace can be itchy. And, oh, and how's about the clothes that button in the back? Why? Why? Do you think everybody has a handmade? They just, will you please help me button my dress? Please help me pull on my stockings because my garter belt's not hooking, the rubber hooky thingy is not going through my stocking. I mean, I can't imagine. And there have been times when I struggle with things like trying to take things off, and I will go in my mom's bedroom, and I'll be trying to, and I'll still do everything I can to wriggle out of things because you sweat a little bit, and you just clothes stick to you. And I'm trying to, and things will get stuck on piercings too. All kinds of things can happen. But oh, you know what I should get? They have this thing that the Japanese made. What they have that I think is so genius. They have a shield that you can put on that goes over your face so your makeup doesn't come on your clothes. And also, I think they can be long enough to protect your hair so it just glides through, kind of like if you stuck it in a bonnet, that would protect it also. But the Japanese, I thought they had me at bidet and robots, but man, they're geniuses. They are just so sharp with their robotics and their computer knowledge, and they're just amazing. And of course, sushi. You had me at the raw fish and the seaweed. I love seaweed. You know, I got to find out about the seaweed that's here, and if I could get harvest seaweed, and if I knew that it wasn't the stuff that was getting rotten. We've all had those times when stuff gets beached and it goes bad and it smells like rotten eggs for a while. And finally, the seabirds eat it up. And then there's a red tide, which is actually a red overgrowth of a kind of plankton that has a toxin in it, and it's not good for that. I think it's called a red tide plume. And I think you don't want to fish around when that's going on. I could be wrong. You get to learn about things like this. Oh, did you see this? I was about to apply this to my coffee. No. This. In the farmers markets here, they start really early in the morning and they close at like 1 p.m. Which, hey, the one in Hollywood, that closed at 1 or maybe 2. So that was a pretty morning thing. And you had to be, and I was not a morning person unless I just stayed up, if I was on the go fast, In San Francisco, I never missed the farmers markets because they were literally right where I lived. I was on a place called United Nations Plaza. That's on 7th and Market Street. And I was literally right there. You didn't have ubiquitous tent cities then. I heard Gavin Newsom is clearing so much of that away. My question is, where did the homeless people go? I knew a lot of people that were homeless in California. And granted, a lot of people were forced out years ago by the rents, everything getting so high. In 9/11, I'm sure that many, many people ended up leaving. I got honey on my fingers. I got to wash my hands. Okay. Well, I'm back. My sinuses. I swear. I can't take anything more for it because my mom just gave me a cetirizine, and that's a once every 24-hour pill. It's some kind of nasal decongestant. I used to be able to get them at Dollar Tree. They closed our Dollar Tree. Oh. See, it cooled down. It's not all that hot. And I'm drinking this, and I'm gulping this down. I haven't been drinking any water. I'm just drinking tea. I know, it's a diuretic. Oh, well. My mom, she drinks so much water. Surprised she doesn't float down the stairs. And there is such a thing as drinking too much water. People can. I think it causes swelling in the brain or something. I know the word isn't poisoning it, but it can be fatal. Yeah. And the thing is, you drink a lot of liquids, you gotta run to the bathroom all the time. Run to the bathroom. And my mom, she's gotten so good at making her way down the hall. She's getting faster and faster. Erin Shred says, "My ears and sinuses always bother me around this time of year. I should probably make some ginger tea." I have a piece of ginger, but I wouldn't want to. I actually didn't care for. I had some ginger tea crystals in a packet that you can make a beverage, and I made some for my mom, and I tried it because she got it from when she worked at the Trump Taj Mahal. She obviously had lots of customers, some from all over the world, and some actually came back from China and from Taiwan, and they would bring her candies and things from there. And sometimes it was the powdered ginger tea mix, and sometimes it was these lozenges that were ginger flavored. And I love ginger in cooking. I have powdered ginger, and I have a ginger paste. Dude. Okay. Oh, I tried using that neti pot of my mom's last month. Almost waterboarded myself, dude. And of course, there's instructions for it, and I looked everywhere and I couldn't find any. It was at least not on the packaging, and it has all these individual packets of saline. And I didn't boil the water first. Of course, you're supposed to do that because the water has to be sterilized so you don't get something called cryptosporidium, which that is a microscopic. It's a microbe that it gets in your sinuses and it gets in your bloodstream and it can get into your brain, and it's just you don't want it. I think it's a parasite. And if you have for people with compromised immune systems, it can actually kill them. You just grate ginger and squeeze lemon or oranges into it. Oh. Oh. I hate it when I bring fresh lemons and fresh limes and they go bad before I can use them. So lately, I scrub them good, then I put them right in the freezer. And I just take one out when I want to, cut it in half, maybe take the half out, thaw that out, keep that in a cup in the fridge, and that way I have fresh lemon juice or lime juice. Because for tea, I love fresh lemon. And if I'm going to something like asparagus or green beans and put butter on them. I like a little lemon juice, And to have the real thing, lemon or lime, I use interchangeably. You know. Or a wee little bit to finish off a thing of ramen noodles. But not if you're going to use the ramen in the styrofoam, though, because if you put acid, that's going to erode some of the styrofoam. And, when you talk about forever plastics, you dissolve microscopic pieces and you swallow them and they get in your bloodstream. Some things don't get excreted. You get plastics and stuff stuck in your body, and we don't want that. So you don't want to have acids. I've always cringed whenever people served lemonade in a styrofoam cup. You're dissolving pieces of. Okay, I use straight acids on my face to exfoliate it, to slough off the dead skin cells, and to flatten out the wrinkles and do all this stuff. And by straight acids, I mean white vinegar. Well, first I used apple cider vinegar. Then I switched to white vinegar. Apple cider vinegar, on one hand, seems more nutritional, but if you're talking about how acidic or alkaline something is, white vinegar is more acidic than apple cider vinegar is, and a stronger acid really is better at exfoliating the dead skin cells off. It helps to even out skin tone. It helps to even out if you have any rough patches and stuff. Of course, if you have any open cuts on the skin, it will sting. And if you squirt in your eyes, it will burn. Don't do those things. But yeah, I like to do a straight acid, let that dry, and then put my other skincare on top of it. It feels really good. I used to actually use lemon juice or lime juice and put it on the arms, put it on the face. The only thing is when it dries, it leaves a sticky, you know. And also the thing is, lemons and limes and oranges, they will increase your sensitivity to the sun because the oil from the rinds, when you squeeze it, that rind oil is going to get on there, and it acts like a magnifying glass, and it will bring your, on one hand, you're trying to bleach things down to get rid of your melanin, but it's saying the sun, oh, come on. So it's better to have it, put it on nighttime. But then again, do you really want to be sticky when you're going to bed? Unless you can lay down on a towel and then in the morning wash the towel. And that's assuming you can do laundry easily. If you're like me and you're doing laundry by hand, well, we all know how frequently we do laundry. Let me close my door. Okay. There's one chore I still haven't done. I'm so mad at myself. You know how you have these big desktop calendars, the ones that people used to have on the big teacher's desk and stuff. Well, I'm going to show you mine. This says April 2024. But if you look in the back, I started creating new calendars and stuff, and I got everything except for the last 2 months. Okay, so I've got to make blank calendars, and then I got to recreate August, and then go on down the line, because big calendars like this, when you're running a YouTube channel and you have daily uploads, you got to think, I want a place that I can list any big chores or errands I have to run. I have to list the filming that I did. I have to list what I posted. And then I do differentiate between live streams and uploads, even though sometimes lately I think it is okay. If you do like 2 live streams during a day, sometimes I think that should absolve me of the obligation to give a daily upload, because if I'm live streaming, when the stream's over, it becomes a video anyway. So, and a lot of people don't have time to catch something at the time you do it live, so they're going to catch it later anyway. And as long as you get my content, that's all I guess that matters. Even though I guess there's something to be said for things happening when it happens. That's pretty groovy, because then you could talk to me and I could respond, you know. But anyway, this is something that I've been needing to do, and I don't know why I put it off, because it's not hard. You can see through the thing. And as far as reconstructing my days, all I have to do is look at my notebooks, look at the other calendar, uh, look at my Facebook wall. That says a lot, because if I had an interesting day, I probably said something there. So a combination of looking at all those social media, and I can, used to be I would just look at my journal. But it seems to me that with all the ways that I document my life, the journaling has been suffering. You know, I'd like to think that, well, I'm making videos, that should kind of make up for it, but it doesn't really. Nothing replaces writing things down in notebooks. And all these notebooks that are a part of my channel, that is partially a record of my life, but it's not as complete as when you're actually writing every day. I did this and I felt this, you know. There's a difference, and I think they're all important, you know. But the writing especially, because when we did writing, that was all we had, except for the people that could afford the cost of developing film and stuff. And then, of course, if you didn't have a place to live, how many pictures are you going to accumulate that you can carry with you? You know. I gotta put this in place. All right, where are we now? You guys grown-ups? Let's see. Anything else you guys haven't seen? Well, this, nobody's seen this up close. Yeah, I got this at the inauguration. Cheers. I'm so glad we're getting this legalized. You know? I mean, it's just a plan. And it has so many health benefits. I'm convinced of it. I'm convinced there must be things that really must stop pain. Because when I see the pain so many people are in around me, and so far so good, I've been pretty lucky. Except for things like the leg cramps. But other than that, I've been pretty lucky compared to some of my friends. I would like to think that some of it is there's qualities in this that protect maybe the joints. There's definitely qualities that protect the our mental health, I think. See, this when I watch Fox News and they talk about all the bad things about pot and about schizophrenia and angry projectile vomiting and stuff, I'm sorry, I don't relate to any of that. Pot has never made me feel aggressive. It's only made me calm. Only I can count on one hand the times I was so high on the THC from pot that I literally had to lay down because it was too much. And once or twice I was scared and thinking that it was a heart thing. And I did actually quit for like a year and a half. It coincided with the last 3/4 of a year of my father's life. And then he died, and then the same amount of time. During that time, I didn't smoke because I thought that it was a weed that was making me feel a certain way. And I think there was maybe I had panic attacks for a very temporary period of time. Like by temporary, I mean not even 4 or 5 months. And I find out that you could do anything to get out of them. You could do the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. You could do the Hail Mary. Doesn't matter whether you have a connection with either one, but those things distract you and they bring you out of it. But I know that there is such a thing as having a limit. And I definitely know that it's very uncomfortable when you do too much THC. But I also know that I have a very strong, very high tolerance. I've been smoking for a very long time. And but I can't feel edibles. I feel nothing. I eat something, it doesn't. Now, when I still drank alcohol, I used to take this twigs and stems and put it in an airplane bottle of Jack Daniels, and I would save it, put it in the sun for like at least a month, and let all the THC go into that alcohol, and I would down. That's like what, a double shot. I would drink that on an empty stomach at a concert, right? I did that at a Motley Crue concert in Philly once. I was hanging out in the back near where the buses go in. And boy, I had a shirt that was shredded in the back like this. And boy, I got a sunburn. Uh, but now obviously uh, drinking alcohol is not an option in my life, and I'm so far away from it. I'm so far removed from it. That's like it's just. I think that's one of the most dangerous drugs there is, actually. Because alcohol, you could just say yes to everything. And, you know, but today was worth it for me. And especially my mom needed shirts because sometimes she'll do something like she'll be eating something with tomato sauce and she'll spill it. And I don't want these stains to set in. I'm the poor fool that's trying to wash things. So I take it off and I soak it in cold water and I rub bar soap. If you don't have Fell's Napa, which is a real great bar soap that you use specifically for hand laundry, um, I first got turned on to that by an old roommate in Hollywood that she knew a lot of things about a lot of things. Okay, she's the lady that had the parrot that where I was living when 9/11 happened, and that parrot always get me up 5:30 every morning. And by the way, 5:30 in the morning there is 8:30 here. So I was awake for the towers to get struck. Yeah, and I was a postscript. I was told I taught that bird to say, "You woke me up. You woke me up." It's a red-naped Amazon, beautiful bird. They live a long time. They live at least 80 years. You got to bequeath them. You know, you got to be very careful about the air in your house. Like you can't use Teflon because if you heat Teflon without anything in it, the fumes could kill a bird. You can't use those Glade scents, which you should use for dogs or cats either, because you plug in those things with the gel things. A lot of those things, those scents and those sprays, are toxic for animals. So the only fragrance I use is weed. Oh, I am getting a few more pairs of pot leaf socks because it's real practical. If you have pot socks in like most of the colors that are practical for you, then you always have pot socks wearing. You always have an opportunity to be wearing pot socks, and that can make all the difference in the people that you talk to, the people that come up to you and say, "Here, take this." You know, you gotta have little ways of identifying. Since it's increasingly safer. Now, I wouldn't necessarily do this if you lived in a non-legal state. I remember before I would wear a shirt with one big old pot leaf, and I would go in there, say the library, and they use Atlantic City Police Department. They use a cop right in the front, and I used to take a piece of rug tape, and I would cover the leaf just so he would see it going in because I was always afraid of giving you a probable cause. If I have something about marijuana, I figure, well, I love marijuana. It may be a chance I might be holding. Miss, can I check your purse or whatever? And then, or they ask you, do you have weed? And you're thinking, okay, I have two options here. Tell the truth, and I'm guaranteed in trouble. Lie to him, then if he decides to search me and finds out I lied to him, then I just lied to a cop. So that's a heck of a decision to make. Because sometimes you find out they really appreciate you telling the truth. Other times they say thank you for telling the truth, but they write you out a ticket either way. And one time I actually got stopped. I wasn't stopped. I was sitting down on a ledge with two other people smoking weed, and we all had a little bit of weed with us, and a cop did sneak up on us. And he asked the first person if he had any weed, and I was so afraid. I was number three, and he was talking to number one, and I'm thinking, what am I going to say to him? And at the last minute, he never got around to asking me. But it's like I know I had at least an eighth on me because this is when they had something called the Cannabis Buyers Club, which was a place. It was like a medical marijuana place, I guess. Yeah, it was only medical, but they had four levels on it. The first level was like a detox thing, open to the public thing. The second one was uh, the Mexican level, which was Mexican, B Mexican, which is kind of like a little bit better than dirt weed, then A, B, and C, and then triple A. And then there was the American grown, California grown, and the B, which is like better than dirt weed. And then, the levels, but the best was triple A medical grade. And that was what I would treat myself to. And that was like 60 or $70 for an eighth. And I don't know why eighth looked bigger in those days, but I would always get the B Mexican eighth for $5, by the way, and then I would get the best stuff. But half the time, people would say, Leather, I'd just get into town and they say, you want some weed? And what do you think the answer is? Even though if I have no finances to spend money on it, I tell people right away. But usually when they say, do you want some weed? It's not, how much money do you have to buy weed? It is, do you want to smoke some weed? I'm treating you. That's usually what it means. It's kind of like the version of whoever's inviting is the person who's treating. And anyway, I have, what did I just knock? Oh, I just knocked that white face into a plastic bag. How clever and convenient. Or no, it's right at the edge. So you see, I won't have to wash it again. I love this thing, and I've really gotten. Is it better not having that ring light on? Because I've got whatever the light is from the window here. There's maybe if I could move that curtain thing a little bit more. It's not a real curtain. It is just. It's actually a shower curtain that has Ed Hardy style tattoo stuff, including guitars and luck hearts and skulls, like candy skulls and stuff. So it's really a cool graphic. The pen, I dropped it on my carpet, so I had to wash it. So, okay. I am going to smoke some more of this weed. Probably about half of my live streams involve my partaking. So I'm very happy with it. Oh, for the first live stream I did today, I used this. I attached this to something and I extended this. So I got to use the signal from the library. So, and it was fine until at the very end it just started clicking on, and it was okay because it wasn't long, but it was enough that I could show a little bit of what the area looked like. I can't do any more standalone video with this phone. It will not let me film. It won't let me even take a single selfie anymore. So, uh, I'll buy myself an additional 2 weeks, I'm guessing, of content creation if I get that other phone. So I'm going to finish the ordering process maybe a couple hours after I do this live stream. And get it, because I talk about things and you don't press send and everything. I want to get it because you still have to wait for the shipment. Because everything comes out of a Los Angeles warehouse and then it's some kind of ground shipment across the country, and then it gets handled over to United States Postal Service, and then I usually get the packages by my carrier either piece by piece, and they can fit it in the or mailbox. Or now, in the case of the cell phone, believe it or not, they put the box in a little pouch, and that fit in the mailbox. And you do this thing where you track the packages, and it lets you know that it's been delivered. And usually, it's been delivered. It makes me nervous because it's been delivered? It's not in my hot little hand. They turned up by delivered. They mean it's in the mailbox. Oh, what a relief! Because that's great. It's not too big. Uh, this whole thing of thinking that you could just leave it on the street somewhere, that's horrific to think that you would do that in a high traffic area where there's just so much people walking to go. Just the people going to the beach, even, not to mention the people that come on these streets looking for whatever it is people want to buy. I like to walk around the block late at night to kind of make my rounds, and I occasionally have dealt with being followed by creeps. People trying to talk to me and wonder why I'm ignoring people. Excuse me. God, I hate to think about what I would do if I was on a talk show or something and I was on for like an hour. With any luck, somebody would cut to a commercial break, and then I could, do let the walls of Jericho come tumbling down. So, can I get this out of the frame? Oh, yes. There's a little bit more. All in all, today was a good day. It's a minor miracle I didn't destroy the umbrella. It was relatively calm wind, but then all of a sudden it picked up, and I'm thinking, I don't want this to go. Because sometimes enough of the things bend at one time that like half of it totally flops, and it looks so absolutely ghetto. It looks and sometimes I'm actually holding it with the other hand to keep a cover over my head, you know. Oh, you should see what I see. This chick, she's a black chick, right? And she's wearing this, wow, this yellow pants and a yellow halter top. And it's got like, at first I thought it was like a snake print, but it's some kind of splotch pattern. But it looks so good, the contrast against her skin. And it just, I love to people watch. I just love fashion. I love clothes that are kind of dramatic. And I love to see couples that are color coordinated and they're doing matching thing. And I think that's great. I like to see people making an effort. Fashion should be fun. It's, you don't take it too seriously, but there are times when, yes, I am carefully crafting a statement and I don't want to mess it up. Like if I got a job at Capitol Hill, I would try to really, really, use what I see people wearing on Fox News Channel and what you see people wearing on Capitol Hill and stuff. And I actually have the clothes and stuff, but I would hope that there are ways that I could still express myself somehow. That's the thing is obviously the purple hair can't hold me back because you see that there's that crazy bitch in Congress somewhere that, and I'm sorry, she's not crazy, but just when Trump had that kid had the brain cancer who was 13 years old, and half the people wouldn't stand for him. A kid with cancer, show some compassion. I mean, come on. And half the people were holding these signs in front of their faces saying different things. And it was like the people doing the poor sportsmanship at their child's little league games and stuff. And they're really making fools of themselves and setting bad example for the kids because they're cussing out the umpire and they're getting rambunctious and they're starting fights. And meanwhile, it's supposed to be sports. It's supposed to be respect. And I would like to think that the halls of Congress, yes, it's a serious thing. It's too serious to call it sport, but you should have some mutual respect. And it seems to me so much I'm seeing in the Democrat Party is all focused on we hate Trump. That's all their message is. They don't have anything united really. And they a lot of times, not all the people, a lot of the Democrats don't think that certain problems are as serious as they are. Like the crime in some of these inner cities. Like Washington D.C., I was pretty lucky that I felt safe there, but I tended to hang out at places that had a very strong presence of Secret Service, Park Police, the federal. You had the Metropolitan Police Department. They're fantastic. They bodyguarded us when Antifa was looking after us Trump supporters. They were, they basically protected us and escorted us to this really great hangout, Harry's Bar, Hotel Harrington, which is no longer there. Uh, COVID it's just another casualty. That was just such a wonderful, so many of the things that I went to last time that I was hanging out in Washington are not there anymore. I don't call that progress. I want to point out something, you guys. Maybe I should put this down first. About destocking, they really do cut off your circulation. You're made to stay up to a certain degree, but they don't stay up where you might want them. They're going to inch their way down. And they are so constricting. And even though I know that I put on weight in a year, I can't imagine that I am stretching the limits for what's a practical thickness for this. But I really prefer a looser top on the stocking so I can just hook it up with the garter belt In that way, there's no digging in, breaking your veins, you know. But that said, I was able to get the whole day. I pulled this up maybe 4 or 5 times. That's it, you know, because I still like to show, even if it's just 2 inches, I like to show a little skin between the hemline and this. But I was really happy with this overall, except for the fact that I couldn't use this to take any content except for the live. Oh, another thing I noticed, there is a thing on the edge, which I guess it protects the on button. You see this? And the thing is, it's like this rubber thing, and it feels like it's fragile and it could come off, and I'm protecting it because obviously it's, I guess so I don't turn it on by mistake. But this thing, it takes so long to charge, and it's like I heard that you shouldn't keep things on the charger all the time, but say it's 100%, so I take it off the charger, and then I don't have it on. Then all of a sudden, oh, I'm going to want to use this for live stream, but because who knows how long it might take, because if it's a cooking thing, well, you know how long that's going to take, what it takes. And if the battery's going to run out, I want to have as much in the battery as possible before I even start filming. So it makes sense to just keep it plugged in all the time. And I have it here in my computer, and this phone itself is not hot, okay? The cord's not hot. The connection is not hot. So nothing on my laptop is hot. So, you know. But I still don't understand why a cell phone which has, uh, what does this have? 256 gigabytes of space on here. And yet the photo area says I can only use this 35 gigabytes that I used. And it's filled up. So, you know, I can't do this. So now my question is this: if the next one I bought, it holds twice what this holds, does this mean after the 70 gigabyte, after 70 gigabytes of stuff, am I going to get a message saying that it's filled up? Am I going to have to get another one? Yeah, this is ridiculous. I got to get a tissue. My nose is tickling. I'm back. So my mom told me what she wants for dinner. She wants cream of mushroom soup mixed with a can of tuna fish. And we have all these cans of tuna and water. Now, I like tuna and oil myself. That over rice is just so sublime. But she likes the tuna and water. So, and hey, I'll give her anything she wants, you know. But she's not, we're not doing this now. And again, I'm not doing any more live streams with in the kitchen. Somebody said something about the stove and how it needed to be scrubbed. And the thing is, I had scrubbed the fuck out of that stove and the sink just before I hit record. I really made an effort, and there's some things that there's just couldn't be done. And what am I going to do? Give myself heart palpitations to make other people happy? Come on. Life's too short for me to compromise my health for this. And to have someone say that basically I'm a messy housekeeper, which, even if that's the case, it probably is the case. I'm not asking to be submitted into Good Housekeeping magazine, okay? I'm not even trying to become famous as a chef. It's just, sometimes you're thinking what would be fun to live stream, and you have to cook anyway. And I love to cook, and everybody loves to eat. So I just thought it would be just another thing that I do in my life, and I figured I would show because, I would think everybody eats, and most people behoove them to have some cooking skills. So, it's most people do cook. And when I'm taking care of my mom, one of the things I do is cook for her. So, and I enjoy that. I get to be creative. And when we have the things and she asks for things, it's really great. The other day, I took this step stool back into the kitchen and I was retrieving different kind of like the cream soups and the different things and put them on the hip high shelf so that not that I'm expecting her to get the things, but they're real easy. I can grab them, make something that she wants without having to disrupt this studio setup. If I have, say, I position this camera just so that when I do my turnaround, I know how much you see my head. I'm not cut off. You don't see up the skirt. You get the right angle. So I like to just keep this where it is and this where it is. But every time I need to go climb on something high with this, I have to reconfigure things. So I went and I brought down everything she wanted. So that's why there are so many cans, which also kind of makes it look messy in one hand because now they're not up there, they're down here. Because this all, when it all comes down to it, I have to most easily be able to fulfill my obligation as far as being a caregiver. I need to be able to do it in a way that I'm not wasting time. I can get it her favorite foods and stuff like that. Things are organized in a way so that she's passing by on her way to the bathroom. She say, "Oh, I noticed your cream and mushroom soup's here. Oh, I think that'd really be wonderful," or whatever. I want to spoil her. I want to do this. I want to be living. I'm trying to really live in the moment instead of just focusing on the future and stuff. I don't want to be kicking myself thinking I wish I paid more attention. It's like when you have a cat and your cat's sick, and you know how time stops, and that's your baby, and you're holding your cat, and you're singing your cat, and you're paying attention, and you're trying to monitor their food and their water intake, and then if they start shutting down, then you try to make them. And anyway, you go through this whole thing. You're bonding. You're spending all this constant time with the person. And I'm not saying this is the same situation, but still. I learned a few things from some mistakes made with my father when I was taking care of him. And I would sometimes lose a little patience with him when he'd get tired and he'd get impatient himself. And my mom and I struggled to deadlift him when his muscles would give out. And we're trying to lift him up. And he had lost a lot of weight and he wasn't ever a heavy guy to begin with. But it was still something we struggled with doing. So if two people are struggling helping one person when you're weak, can you imagine how I get scared sometimes thinking, what about if mom, like I noticed when she was in the nursing home, before she was able to sit up, get out of bed, walk down the hall, go to the bathroom, do different things by herself. But I remember when she couldn't do that, and she had to learn how to climb upstairs. And she's still getting, every 4 days, whatever, twice a week, she's getting somebody that's walking through some exercises with her and stuff. Things in addition to what she's already doing with the stretch bands and whatever. There are times I'm thinking it'd be fun to get creative and try doing some things that are low impact and be easy, like they have sitting exercise and stuff. But she says that she wants to do specific things that they want her to do for, which I can understand. If there's things where she has certain deficiencies in her mobility, she needs to get strong enough to do certain things. Feeling the confidence to safely walk up and down stairs, even if you have a banister to hold on to, the pole, whatever. And because she was doing this thing where she was told to put hand over hand and start with the good foot, or however it was. But all you could do is be patient and sometimes be behind them so if they fall you can catch them. But going upstairs after maybe not a good idea because you get end up with two people hurt. You know. So and she uses when my mom is going downstairs and upstairs, she uses two canes in each hand apparently because it's too dangerous to try to balance a walker. And the one walker obviously you can't use because it's the one with the built-in seat. But the other walker is a kind that you could fold, and it's the kind that is most people are used to seeing. That what my mom does when she walks down the hall to go use the bathroom at night and stuff, she folds it up like an inline skate, and she walks with it right ahead of her, and it's like it clears the way for her. And okay, the hallway is like about maybe this. It's not much because there's packing boxes on either side. And some things are open for regular access, but other things are packed up like packed back. You know. That's why I can't find my makeup brushes because certain things have been packed up. I packed a lot of my skincare too because I really thought that since we were supposed to be out in December, I didn't think that we were going to be here this late. But then again, I didn't realize that we had limited knowledge about vacancies and certainly nothing in neighborhoods that we wanted. There was 4 pages of just blight in inner city and all the things that my mother said that she didn't want to live in. She didn't want to live way up on a high rise. She didn't want to live with old people. She didn't want to live with this senior building. I said, Mom, have you looked in the mirror? And I don't mean to be rude, but we have to accept certain things. If I'm her caregiver and I'm moving in with her, if she's living in a place with old people, well, then I guess I would be living in a place with old people. Well, it's I don't care. I'm not gonna say I don't care where I would end up being, but as long as I'm with my mom in a place where she would be happy and feel safe and be safe, you know, and I don't want to be real high up. I would like to be as close to ground floor as possible, because I would like to know that I could throw my possessions out a window and run out, and it'd be easy to evacuate in one trip and all that stuff. I'm worried about a place would have to be pet friendly and not a place where you have to pay a deposit. And I would have to figure out how to sneak a cat in if it's a question where if I wait until later to disclose. Because, I have a lot of stuffed animals that are very lifelike. And if it's, I would try to find out if it's a place where somebody would rat me out to the manager that there is a cat in the window that was definitely moving. Because if I found a cat, first of all, my mother probably wouldn't know about it. And of course, I would have to get it checked for fleas. Because the last thing I want to do is do what I did with Garfield, where I brought him in, and then next thing you know, the carpets, everything had fleas, and they were biting us. And oh man, I had no idea how bad flea bites were for human beings. That sucked. Those fleas. And then I actually went to the ER to get some relief, and it was so ridiculously cold there. It was too cold, and I didn't think to bring long sleeves. Now, it's funny, it wasn't uncomfortable when I had pneumonia and everything. And all the times that I have been at my mom's hospitals, it's been perfectly comfortable. And a lot of times, if she was by the window, she actually could have some control over when it was on the thermostat. Maybe she couldn't do it in the hospital, but in the, well, wait a minute. In her nursing home, she could. Uh, I don't know if she could do it in uh, Cooper. Well, Cooper, the thing is, we were by the window, which is definitely, I think, the best because you've got to look at the view. And boy, she didn't get to see when she was in Atlantic Care before she got transferred to Cooper in Hammond, New Jersey. She was all hopped up on a morphine drip, so she was so out of it. She didn't get to appreciate the view, the sunsets from her bed. You think, oh, having a window means you get a view. Well, if you're too weak to sit up in bed and you don't get somebody to move your adjustable bed because they have these things to go from flat to different stages of reclining. My mom always had things on a certain stage of reclining because it made it easier for her to breathe. I was doing that with my pneumonia. I was actually using this little duffel bag that I just have red, white, and blue stuff in. It was something that I would definitely, if I was packing for Washington D.C., I would dig through that because things are organized. Well, I actually put that underneath a pillow so that I have more of an incline because the flatter I put my head down, the more hard it is for me to breathe, and I'm coughing up and stuff, and that really that makes it hard. That you can't sleep because you're coughing and coughing and coughing. And that's the thing, one of the things that sucked the most about having pneumonia is that I couldn't lay down to rest. I'm tired. I've gotten all my chores done. I finally have time to sleep. And guess what? I haven't been down 10 minutes before cough, cough, cough. And I literally had to have a cup so I had something to cough into. And I had all these tissues and always having to dump this. It was really disgusting. It's not being able to just get any kind of rest, much less quality rest, because of the spasms from coughing and coughing. I usually sneeze in twos. I don't know why. Oh, boy. No, I would like to think that ingesting all this honey would be good for me around now because if I am getting irritated or something, which I still don't understand. This makes no sense this close soon after having had pneumonia. Why could I be coming down with something again? Hmm? I don't understand. Oh, what sorry this is. Okay, I'm back. And this is going to be all of my definitely not former of the streets home road, you know. Okay. The last of my so I might hit the boardwalk tonight for a backwards filming. That is so weird. Why do I have to film backwards? I don't understand. This doesn't film me backwards when I'm live streaming. Why? When I film with this, it doesn't film me the right way. It's 6:27 p.m. where I'm at, but it's also 4:20. So gonna smoke it. Might as well smoke it all. Boy. Let's see, I've been doing this 3 hours, 8 minutes, and 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and you get it. But this has been live from my home studio in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And I can't promise, but maybe I'll talk to you in a couple hours. She's going to want to eat, and I gotta take care of that. And so I will see you then. You guys be safe, please. And, I will. Yeah, maybe I'll talk to you from Tropicana or something.